Hi, this is Cecilia from Tarot by Cecilia, and today is Friday, March the 8th, 2019. The tarot card for today is the World, and today I've chosen one from 78 Tarot Mythical, which is an incredible deck that you guys need to check out. There's actually another deck which will be launched on March the 20th. I believe I already mentioned that, and that will be Elemental. Beautiful artwork. You really need to follow this. Now, on to this World card, and not just the meaning of the card, but this is all about your timeline. So I'm going to do two things here. I'm going to explain it from a more global political level and even from my own personal level to try to help you to understand. Now we're going to go back to July 13th, okay, day after the solar eclipse that occurred in Cancer. This was before the nodes moved into Cancer and Capricorn. If you listen to me on Patreon, Facebook members only, bear with me here, because when you listen to my Leo guidance, you'll know that there's a lot going on with Leos, probably in the greatest spotlight of all the signs. And I've also indicated some things about Leos in other things that I've spoken about. And as recent as the tarot guidance which came out for this week, I also discussed what I'm about to say here. Okay, on July 13th, let's start with me first, okay? For the first time in about 20 years, I went to the doctor. As many of you know, I'm in need of surgery. You know, there was a lot of confusion that emanated from that, visit. I want to thank everyone for, all of the thoughts and all of the prayers. And I've been waiting for answers, okay? Now, also on the same day, the day after this eclipse, Robert Mueller, the special counsel in the United States for the Russia investigation into, the affairs of President Trump, or, if there was any collusion and, the implication of the Russians tampering with elections. All right. He hands down, I think it was 12 indictments for these Russians that interfered. And from there became all of this speculation. What comes next? What's really going on? Both in the special counsel's investigation and in my own life. Okay. Now, we move ahead to August. And on August the 12th, I put out a video at my $10 Patreon level, which was called The Finish Line. I know many of you listened to it, and bottom line, what it really gave off as, the moral of the story that was there with our timelines and what is going on is that we all needed to get past, where Uranus was retrograde and moved back into Aries, right, on November the 6th, and then moved into Taurus on March the 6th, okay, just 2 days ago. And as we know, our world card is all about cycles, okay? Now, I am personally waiting for some answers, waiting to get some tests done. At the time of this recording, it isn't actually March the 8th yet, okay? But the possibility exists that I will finally be, getting a definitive test, which will show what is going on in there, okay? So bear that in mind. And when I did the weekly for this week, I spoke about that Leo, who is indeed Robert Mueller, okay? And that, not that it's a conclusion, but I want to say that today is the day that you see him hand down some very specific indictments. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. They're coming real soon, people. But I really feel like it's today, and that there is a good possibility that it will also include his report. But he likes to do things on Friday. This is also the day that I'm going to find out what's going on with me, like for certain. And what's the reason that I'm doing this? I'm trying to draw the parallel between my own life and, what's going on globally or in my own country. Because, how many times have many of you commented, it sounds like you're talking to me, okay? When you can draw your own, themes from it, what's going on in your life with your timeline. This what this card is all about, the World card, because it's about cycles. It's about those timelines in our lives where one cycle essentially ends and another begins, whether you want to call it a cycle going across the finish line and starting the next leg of the race. It's pretty much what it's about, because if I go for a test, then I have to see what's the next step, right? Just like if Special Counsel Robert Mueller files all these indictments and puts out a report, then you have several weeks of, people getting information together and all the news that emanates from that. And, it's all very fascinating to me about how we can draw these parallels. So this isn't meant as a political post, for those of you who made it this far. This is about how this plays out in our lives. And if we take the time to sit back and use those powers of observation rather than just focusing totally on ourselves. That's not when I say just do you. It doesn't mean you ignore everything else that's going on. Everyone is, functioning with the same aspects, the same transits, the same things that are happening. And what I've been watching this week from people's comments is that once Uranus moved into Taurus on Tuesday or Wednesday, it was Wednesday, then people were finally going out, having interviews, getting new jobs, the list goes on and on. So that's the change. That's the cycle. This is a card that's of success, of completion. Okay. This is a very important day, but it by no means is the end. Okay. Like I said, if you listen to me on Patreon, well, that finish line video, we're done with it now. Okay. It was on both Patreon and Facebook members only, but it really went through this whole thing that we've just been through, that basically went from that July 13th timeline to what are we going to do here? How are we going to work this out? Now we're finally starting to get some answers. How to proceed, okay? What comes next? All about cycles. This may be the longest daily that I've ever done, but I feel it is one of the most important, because so many of you just sit back and say, I hope so, which drives me nuts, okay? Or, when. The when is like you're in it. You're in it now. You're getting the answers. You're figuring it out. But you don't have all the answers just yet. You have to remember, Mercury is retrograde, okay? The clarity, have you been listening to me? When does the clarity come? Go check. Go listen to the weekly. Go listen to the new moon. Go listen to the new Uranus and Taurus video that's out. And you'll be like, oh, man, I get it now. You're that close, okay? You are that close. This cycle, there is something that is really switching here today. We've seen the Wheel of Fortune this week. We have seen the Tower card, the Judgment card. This is a big week. It's probably the biggest week of the year. There will be, I believe, a more eventful week that actually is kind of anticlimactic of this one. But where you're at, where you're going, it's all right here. Okay? Now, you have to consider, I always like to give things a day either way, a couple days sometimes, simply because of time zones and where people are and what their work week might be and all those kind of things. But you are definitely at that point. You're getting the answers. You're getting the kind of feel for what the next step is, all right? In other words, what's happening now, it may not be the next step, but it's what allows you to proceed to the next step. All about that finish line. And, I really love the fact that we had that video. It was over 40 minutes and it talked about all of this time frame. And, as a conclusion, we've made it through all of that. We will not see Uranus in Aries again for decades. most of us will not even be around. Okay, I'm talking a really long time. So I'm going to end this here because it's almost 10 minutes. I want to thank you all very much for listening. I'll see you here again tomorrow, and as always, have a great day.